Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are thrilled to have all of you here today. Welcome. We are so excited to have all of you here today. As you come in and as the LinkedIn live stream gets started, we would love to know who's with us today. So in the chat, if you could please put your name and where you're joining from, and extra credit if you want to put in some weather alerts. I've been getting plenty here in Charlotte, North Carolina, although I'm joined by a lot of Californians where it's always sunny, it seems, and nice weather. So we are thrilled to have all of you here with us today. In the chat, we would love to know who's joining us. If you can put your name and where you're joining from, we'd love to get to know who's with us today. I am joined by our panel today. I'm thrilled to have all of these ladies with us and want to get started. So we will jump right in and share a little bit about this series. My name is Kim Igwe, and I work as BranchEd's Professional Learning Manager. In the chat, again, we would love to know who you are, so please do introduce yourself. We are excited for today's webinar and getting to know you and what brought you here today. For those of you who are new to BranchEd, we are a professional services organization and a collective of education leaders, advancing educational excellence by expanding individual capacity, enabling supportive relationships, boosting institutional effectiveness in the classroom in both school districts and higher educational institutions, and collaborating with communities. We believe every student deserves access to caring, adaptive, and well-prepared teachers, that every teacher deserves preparation that fuses quality with diversity, and that every person benefits when we create a higher standard of education together. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the fifth of BranchEd's 2025-2026 Nuts and Bolts webinar series. Throughout this year of learning, we will empower educators to innovate with purpose, thoughtfully bridging pedagogy and possibility. From integrating new instructional approaches to deepening content expertise and harnessing the power of storytelling, educators will engage with forward-thinking yet practical strategies as we navigate the evolving role of AI in education. We will emphasize the humanity of teaching, honoring the expertise, creativity, and contributions both of teachers and learners. Before we get started, I wanted to share a couple of housekeeping items. We are recording this webinar, as I mentioned, and we are LinkedIn live streaming it, so you will receive the recording of this, and please feel free to share the LinkedIn live stream with colleagues and friends. There will be time for questions at the end, but if you have questions throughout, please do feel free to either use the chat or the Q&A, whichever is.
So whichever works for you. And this is Rosemary taking over. Kim's in the snow right now.
Sorry. Oh, okay.
Hey, Kim, we cannot see your screen. Are you thinking about sharing?
Yes. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Perfect. So before we dive into the conversation, I wanted to share more about BranchEd's Early Literacy Promotora Project, which was a collaboration between community organizations and educator preparation programs focused on supporting early literacy for emergent multilingual learners. It's a suite of resources was created by a team of subject matter experts, some of whom you'll meet in a moment, from California educator preparation programs in partnership with community-based organizations. These resources were created in response to the growing need to support families with young children from infancy to age 8 in building strong foundations for lifelong learning. They place proven early literacy strategies directly in the hands of trusted community partners, our promotoras, who already have strong relationships with local families. Families can also utilize these resources independently. In order to ensure the highest quality of resources, these resources went through multiple rounds of review from community members and faculty to ensure they represent all communities. With that, I'd love to introduce our featured panelists and the subject matter experts who were a part of creating these resources. Belandra Fragoso is the Executive Director of Parent Services Project with extensive experience in community engagement and social services. A Bay Area native and licensed clinical social worker, her work centers on social justice and advancing educational equity for Latina and Latino immigrant communities. Katie Lewis is an associate professor and former elementary school teacher with 9 years of experience across pre-K through 3 in diverse settings, including Title I, IB, and full inclusion charter schools. She holds a PhD in school improvement and her award-winning dissertation. Leadership, AERA, Leadership for Social Justice, focused on gender diverse voices in K through 12 schools. Amber Linwood, EDD, is an associate professor in the School of Education at Azusa Pacific University. Her work focuses on developing leadership capacity in pre-service teachers with research interests in literacy instruction, relationship building, and improving student achievement. Rosemarie Michaels is a professor at Dominican University of California whose work focuses on university school community partnerships and global education. A recipient of the Francois Lapage Award for Innovation in Global Education, her research interests include equitable pedagogy and teacher education in K-12 classrooms. Ani Monahan is an associate adjunct professor at St. Mary's College of California, where she has taught in the EDD, MA, and teacher credential programs for the last 15 years. Her primary teaching and research interests are in child development, literacy, multilingual learners, and narrative. Previously, she conducted research and provided technical assistance at the Los Angeles Unified School District, University of Houston, and West Ed. Alexina Rojas is the director of the West County First Five Center, where she has served over 16 years supporting families with children from birth to age 5. Holding a master's degree in educational administration, she serves as the lead early childhood subject matter expert for this project. Y'all, thank you so much for being here. We are just thrilled with all of the wisdom. From reading your bios, there's so much wisdom, there's so much experience from all of you on this panel. And so I'm just so excited for us all to be joining here today. To start us off, Katie, I would love if you could start us off with how this work started and how it evolved over time into these suite of resources that we have.
Great. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Good morning, everybody. I'm Katie Lewis. I wanted to start out by providing some context specific to Dominican, and then we'll kind of expand from there. So at Dominican University, we've had the pleasure of working closely with Branch Ed since 2022. So it's been a few years of great early literacy work. And we were initially invited to this work as part of the Promotora Project Phase 1. And as part of that work, we were supporting bilingual families in our community with early literacy supports and involving families in that process. At that time, we collaborated with a close community partner, Parent Services Project. And while the university had this longstanding relationship with Parent Services Project through community engagement, service learning, those areas, we hadn't to that point really had a streamlined collaboration at the education department level. So this was really a nice launch into this collaborative work together. And then from there, things just kept growing and expanding through the good work we were doing. So in 2023, we were working with Branch Ed on Promotora. And then we had an opportunity to work locally within our community and continue our collaboration with our community partner. through Marin County's Parent Learning Opportunity Fund. And so we naturally had space to continue supporting families in the community through different avenues. So we are obviously really interested in continuing the work where possible. So we developed an early literacy ambassadors program at the county level, while also continuing the Promotora work with Branch Ed. So there were times where our projects crossed wires a little bit, and we were like thinking, which one is this? And it's very similar work, truly rooted in not only the community partnerships, but the family engagement piece of early literacy support. So it's very rewarding work, naturally. But that led us to phase 2 of the Promotora Project with Branch Ed, which kicked off in 2024 and resulted in this beautiful published toolkit that you all will have access to today, and where most of our conversations will focus is in our work collaborating to develop this early literacy toolkit. So one of the things that I think is really interesting about this process is when we first started our work with Branch Ed, some of the other education consultants said, now, once you start this work, this is a long time collaboration. And I thought, oh, that sounds really nice. But here we are, almost 4 years later, and we're still doing good work together. So I can attest to the importance support that Branch Ed provides. And then an opportunity like this, where we collaborated with several institutions and community partners to develop something practical and useful that is truly rooted in these equity and social justice principles in education. So I could keep going. I'm going to stop there and invite another one of my colleagues to provide context. But again, welcome everybody to this conversation. I think you'll enjoy the work that we are going to be talking about.
Yeah, so just to build off on what Katie was saying, I think as one of the people who came in from a different institution, this was such a great opportunity to, like Katie said, bring together not just a group of faculty, folks working in colleges and universities, but also to really build some relationships with community partners and incorporate the voices of those community partners into this work. And as we sort of came together, there aren't always that many opportunities for this kind of relationship where you have folks working in colleges and universities who are often seen as the experts, but not really the experts. So it's been really, I think, a lovely way to bring us all together and just have lots of conversations. And I think we've all been connected in one way or another. Like, Rosemary had done some work with St. Mary's and so that was kind of how I came on board. And then, Belandra and Alexina were connected. Alexina actually has worked with some other folks in the early childhood space that former student of mine. So there are lots of different connections in how we came together to do this work. And it really was both, I think, meaningful for us and I think resulted, as Katie said, in this lovely toolkit of resources that's really grounded in that sort of partnership and community connections.
Thank you both for sharing that. It was a really fun. I came in not for the 4 year, but I came in at the last year. And the first thing I said to my colleagues is, what does this word promotora actually mean? And I think maybe some of you on this call might have that same question, as we were called the Promotora Project. It's the name of a lot, and you'll see it all over the toolkits and the introduction. And so for those of you who are unfamiliar to this term, can you share, Belandra, what is a promotora and why are promotoras such powerful bridges between families, schools, and communities?
Yeah, so a promotora, people also might recognize the word community health worker, but they're really just trusted community members who are trained to share information, support families, and connect them to resources. They're really just insiders in the community, and that's why they're so powerful. Promotoras might share resources about health or education. We have nutrition promotoras at Parent Services Project. We have early childhood education promotoras. They can help families navigate complex systems, provide workshops, peer education. They really help support family engagement, and they're really just trusted messengers within linking the community. Um, and that's really just what makes them so powerful.
Sharing a little bit about that model and how the model of Promotora is maybe different than a more traditional family engagement model that we might see in other places.
Yeah, so excuse me. So traditional family engagement or, teaching of like early literacy strategies, it often centers on kind of like the teacher and the student model. So the teacher is like holding the information, the student is just receiving it, and there's this very like strong feeling of respect that the teacher knows what is best and we need to do, what the teacher's espousing, which is fine, except that then sometimes the information that people already have gets lost, or people don't value the information that they already have, the strengths that they already have, whether it's instinctive strengths or if it's something that maybe they've observed through culture and whatnot. So the promotora model centers on building relationships between the promotor and the parent or whoever the other person in the relationship with, and really about shared learning within the community. And so, as Belanger was saying, the promotores are like trusted community members. And so when parents see someone who's like them, who are not content experts, they could be their neighbor, the tia, someone who works at the grocery store. And so when they see people who are like them, who are not necessarily experts or professionals in early literacy, then it doesn't feel as intimidating for the parent to have more of a reciprocal relationship, a learning relationship, as the early learning strategies are being shared. And it feels more familiar, it feels more doable, it's empowering, it can be inspiring because maybe the parent decides like, this is really great. I would like to share this information, with my network, with my family, my friends. Yeah, and so the promotora approach, it meets families where they are. It honors the family's knowledge, their culture, their lived experiences, and really holds those as assets. And, for example, a lot of families, maybe immigrant families, maybe they're not having as much access to books, buying books, or maybe they're not near a library. And so one area that we can tap into their lived experience and their culture is like oral storytelling, and really, highlighting like the stories that people come with are equally important as the stories that we read in books, and then making those connections between the oral and the cultural traditions to then literacy strategies.
I think Kim's frozen.
Yeah, so this is Rosemary, a colleague of everyone here. And so I'm going to ask a couple questions too and follow up with things. So my colleague Amber did a lot of work with, and we all have, but Amber with dialogic reading, and it's at the heart of this work. Can you explain what that is, Amber, and why it's so powerful, an approach to early literacy?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. So you're right. Dialogue is really at the heart of dialogic reading. It's really all about entering into a conversation with children about a book so that reading becomes this dynamic and exciting exchange. I like to say that it all begins with a great book, open-ended questions, and a little bit of time. So while reading, the reader can ask questions of the listener, like, what happened on this page? Or is this what you thought would happen? Or what do you think is going to happen next? Or asking about the favorite part of the story or the least favorite part of the story after the reading is over. And the neat thing about that is that if a child answers in a single word or phrase, then there's the opportunity to expand on that response or to model how to use a complete sentence. So there are really many opportunities for learning. I mean, in addition to vocabulary, I mean, there's lots of opportunities to discussing new words. So I would say that dialogic reading is just a fantastic literacy strategy. I mean, it supports the overall comprehension of text, it supports vocabulary development, and it also supports just oral language development overall. So it's just all around wonderful. And the neat thing is that our toolkit really does feature a couple of wonderful examples of dialogic reading, both in English and in Spanish. And so it would be great at some point. Oh, I see that Kim is back. She's rejoined us. Okay, great. Wonderful. Kim, would it be okay to share a couple minutes? We have two examples from the toolkit.
Si tú quieres estar sano, cuida tu alimentación y no olvides que un buen baño te dará buena presentación. Las uñas, mira tus uñas cómo están. Dice, las uñas córtate siempre. ¿Cuándo te las cortaste por última vez? ¿Te acuerdas o no? Así, hace unos días, ¿verdad? Las uñas córtate siempre. Lávate muy bien las manos. Cepíllate tus dientes y siempre los tendrás sanos. ¿Cómo se llama entonces este, mamá? Morosaurio. ¿Y cómo era Morosaurio, mamá? ¿Cómo estaba Morosaurio? ¿Cómo estaba? ¿Cómo estaba Morosaurio cuando empezó el libro? ¿Estaba limpio o estaba sucio? Sucio. ¿Y luego qué pasó? Tenía lagañas. ¿Y qué más tenía? ¿Te acuerdas qué más tenía?
Arañas.
¿Arañas también? ¿Y qué pasó después?
Se lavó los dientes.
Se lavó los dientes. ¿Y qué más?
Se lavó.
Se bañó. ¿En dónde se lavó, mamá? ¿Dónde se bañó? ¿A dónde se cayó? ¿Te acuerdas?
A la lavadora.
A la lavadora. ¿Y qué le pasó?
Se atrapó.
Se quedó atrapado. ¿Y luego?
Se toalló.
Se limpió con una toalla. ¿Y qué pasó después?
Estaba limpio.
Estaba muy limpio. ¿Y qué hizo cuando estaba limpio? ¿A dónde fue?
Al parque.
Al parque. ¿Y qué le compraron?
Thank you. So there's just a beautiful job of just some key question and answering. This one was after the story. And then in the next video, there's definitely the questioning happening in the midst of the reading, or certainly in returning to the text after to find out what the children understood. And from that day, they like to say, their lives were free of pain. It was a happy, peaceful place upon that isle in Maine. What'd you think about that story?
It was good.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
The Circus Ship by Chris Van Dusen. Okay, so what was this story mostly about?
So there was a ship that held circus animals, and then one day the ship crashed, and then the animals fell into the sea.
Oh boy.
And then they found an island, and at first the villagers were kind of scared of them. But then they got used to the animals, and then they started liking them. And then one day, Little Red came along and said, the animals are from the boat. The circus owner wants them back. He'll be here any day. And then the villagers quickly hatched a plan. Then no animal that came famous short, Ever Still Duff with That Man.
Thank you. That was a really great summary, Jackson. I appreciate all of that information you gave and all of that detail. That was awesome. Yeah. Okay, very good. So let's see what I'm looking on this page, and I see that there is a tiger with a little girl on its back, and they're surrounded by flames. What happened here? Riley?
So Emma Rose was in the fire in a barn. And the tiger sensed it, and he was like, "It's gonna be easy because I did that when I was in the circus. I jumped through the flames," and he just went through and then jumped up on a piece of cake.
It was a piece of cake for him to do this. So he saved a little girl's life. I think that has something to do with why those the people that you call them the villagers or the islanders, why they wanted the animals to stay. I think that you are absolutely right. Very good. So Emma Rose and also Tiger and also Little Red and also Mr. Payne, they have a special name when we're talking about stories. What are they called, Jackson?
Characters.
They're called the characters. And who were the main characters?
The animals.
The animals. And who was a supporting character?
Mr. Payne and Little Red.
Little Red. Can you think of another one? What about this little girl?
Emma Rose.
Emma Rose. Okay, very good. Excellent job. And so what would you say was the big problem in this story? What was the big problem? Because I see on this page, the islanders and also the animals, they're all working together, and the author tells us that they are hatching a plan. Why are they hatching or coming up with a plan? Wonderful. So you see at the heart of dialogic reading is just a lot of wonderful talking about the book and returning to the illustrations and revisiting the wonderful text and just really enjoying that reading time and enhancing it through conversation.
One of the things I really enjoyed about the videos is seeing all of the places and spaces people can read, right? At your dinner table, in a community center, outside at a park. It just was lovely to see all of the authentic spaces in which you can really enjoy reading and using what's around you to engage with the child. So pointing at nature or having a snack. So I think it really does, the videos really show how dialogic reading can really integrate into just your daily activities. It's not something you have to sit aside, right, or wait for a good moment to. So thank you for sharing those, and thank you, Rosemary, for helping me take over. Sorry, everyone, I'm still dealing with some snow in North Carolina, and the Wi-Fi is funny. But Amber, thank you for sharing around that dialogic reading. Would love how did the group, as we created these tools, the videos sort of came, they weren't initially part of the plan, right? And as we were getting feedback from folks, we really started hearing like, it'd be great to have some tools and resources. Ani, do you mind sharing how did the group try to embody the needs of the community, and how does this toolkit reflect some of that feedback and those reviews that we got from community members?
Yeah. So I really appreciated what Alexina was saying about sort of that model, the Promotora model, and the way of valuing the community and valuing the strengths and the knowledge that the community brings, because I think that actually was also like we tried to embody that within our process as well, right? I mean, it was very clear from the get-go that this wasn't sort of the traditional model of like the teacher or the college faculty who have the most knowledge, sort of creating something for to just distribute, right, of sort of that top-down model. This was very much meant to be a partnership and collaboration, not just with our community partners, although that was sort of our the space we were working in, right? For all of us to work together as a collective. But there was also this tremendous value placed on engaging with the folks who would actually be using, right? The families from the communities where this toolkit might actually be used. And so I think it was really important for us to really not just say this is a toolkit for the community, but to really walk that walk, right? To really say, this is not just what we think the needs are, but actually what the needs are coming up. And so, part of the way that those videos came up and some of the other tools within the toolkit happened was that the community members were like, well, those sound great, but either the language was too sort of academic or they weren't sure how to do it. And so then we sort of over time came up with the idea to develop some of those videos to give to give the community members and the families who'll be using this something that they could use, right? Not just something that sits on a server somewhere that, maybe some academic person downloads, but to really have as our fundamental premise being and centering the voices of the families in the community and really actively engaging, right, with community partners. And, some of the most meaningful and to me essential parts were, hearing some of the stories of the families after they had a chance to kind of work with um, and look at and take a hands-on approach of using the toolkit to really hear what they say. And this was such a meaningful partnership for me because I think all of us come to this work with wanting to make a difference, right? But sometimes, again, having this opportunity to really work with folks who are out in the community and sort of matching and saying, well, this is what we know from research, right? And there's certainly a huge research grounding of dialogic reading and all the other components of literacy. But then to say, well, how does that actually translate? How can we make sure that we're not just saying, this is what research says, but this is actually how a parent and a child could actually engage. And so it just, for me, and I think for all of us, right, really sharing and ensuring that the voices of the community were central to everything we did and really being thoughtful about sort of listening and engaging and ensuring that the feedback and the knowledge that was coming from the communities was an essential part of this work. And I feel like I grew and learned a lot through that process. And so, having this really shared collaborative experience, I think resulted in something that is meaningful and useful, and that, that communities and folks working in early literacy can actually pick up and use.
We also, can I just say something about the
Oh,
video?
yeah.
We also wanted this toolkit to be as accessible as possible for families. And we know that there are different literacy levels in community. And so we have some family members that we work with that we knew were not going to be able to read the toolkit and understand the academic language. So we wanted to be sure, one, that we were writing it in a way that was really accessible, but also the video added another element so that families could watch and listen and learn that way because we all learn differently and we knew that.
Yeah, that's great.
Love that. Thank you for sharing how it evolved. Alexina, I know you were in the community piloting this. That was part of the work over this past year. Would love to hear from you about how it continuously evolved through the pilot and like how did you even set that pilot up? I'm sure some folks are wondering like what did that even look like? How did you do that? So can you sort of walk us through your approach in that piloting and then what you learned and how the work evolved through that learning? And of course, the rest of the team, you were also piloting, so sharing out what you learned as well.
Yeah, it was really, for me, the heart of the work that we were doing. So the three community partners, so our Family Resource Center, the Parent Services Project, and then there was a school. that there's another team member who's not with us today, but he had a relationship with families coming to the school. Um, and so what we decided to do is have sort of a focus group with each one of our, community locations. And so we kind of acted like promotores, like ourselves, where we took this script that had been created by our team members and we engaged the parents directly, sort of making almost like a conversational workshop. And so we each took one or two of the strategies. We rolled out how the parents could incorporate the strategies with their children, really giving strategies on what the parents would do directly, what the parents would say to the children. And then we asked the parents to choose one strategy. And in the week after coming to the first meeting, they would practice that strategy with their child. And then we met again and the families shared out like the successes and the challenges. And so we were able to take two levels of feedback, both from the very first meeting with the families and then with the second meeting where we could see like, are we on point with our script and with, our strategies? So that was really exciting. We also did another level of sharing the work we had done with more like community partners, people who might be promotores themselves in the future, some other colleagues like college professors and other folks in the community. And so they gave us some feedback as well. Um, but what was great about this was that there was opportunity not just to give feedback on the content itself, but also the delivery, the whole process of the promotor talking with the family and then the parent, passing information on to the child. So from the delivery standpoint, we learned that not all the terms were understood in the same way. So we made sure to clearly define key concepts and include a lot of concrete examples in the resource manual. For instance, the word strategy, which is really like the basis of our manual, not everyone knew what a strategy was. So we made sure to explain it in a few different ways, so as Belandra was saying, that it could be a little more accessible. Families, I think this was already mentioned, families shared how powerful visuals and hands-on materials would be. So we incorporated things like matching cards and other interactive resources. Now, those are things that parents could buy, but again, we wanted to make it accessible. We wanted the promotores to be able to, if they had access to printers where they could hand the families just printouts of cards that they could just cut out and keep and continue to practice at home. Another really important piece of feedback was the wide age range of the children, because this is like an infancy through age 8 and just a finite set of strategies. So it was like, whoa, how are we going to make sure that this really works for 9 years of a child's life? And so parents wanted more guidance on how to adapt each strategy depending on whether they had an infant, toddler, preschooler, school age. And so then in response, we did build in adaptations for each developmental stage so that families could take one strategy and be able to use it differently according to the age of their one or multiple children. So that was extremely important and really tricky because it meant that we could really double or triple the length of the manual. And so we had to be kind of sparing around how to make it as wide as possible, but not so long. And in terms of the content, we heard a mix of responses. Some of the strategies were completely new for the parents. Some were already familiar. And what was really great was that some of the families, when they were exposed to the strategies, they were like, oh, we already do this, but we didn't realize that they were literacy strategies. We thought they were just telling jokes or singing nursery rhymes. They're just things that I learned when I was a child, but there wasn't this explicit connection of like, oh, all of these things contribute to my child's literacy. And so, that's where we were able to be really strengths-based. And then finally, all of this helped us intentionally weave validation through the manual. So recognizing the strengths and the skills that families already bring, and then reinforcing that the goal isn't to use every strategy perfectly, but more just to create like a literacy rich environment, and nurturing relationships with their child. And so also kind of this parallel process of we included ongoing encouragement for the parents to affirm their child's efforts and interests in literacy as well. And so, for instance, with the videos, as you can see, we didn't want them to be perfect. We didn't want it to be, the parent reading and the child is going to be like super paying attention, as you can see with the toddler. And this was after 15 minutes of videos. And so after a while, she was like, whoa. Um, but she was still sticking with it. And so what we wanted to show the parents who are participating in this manual is that it's not going to be perfect. We don't need the children to repeat back or just get it. It's all about the relationship and the parent following the child's cue and making it just a fun and loving experience.
Alexita, you had us all smiles, and I saw the whole group nodding. What a powerful experience to have. I know many of you have shared stories with us, right, of the impact it's had on the community in doing this work, and would love to just hear, Amber, if you don't mind kicking us off, like what have you heard in incorporating, in sharing this work with promotoras and beyond with the community? What is it that you're hearing about the impact it's having on kids?
Yes, thank you. So I had the opportunity to actually participate in the focus group that my community partner, Octavio Hernandez Cuevas, facilitated. And I was so blown away by how wonderful it all went. I recall one parent being so happy and saying, I never knew these things. I never had this type of support when I was younger. I wish I would have had this information, or I wish I would have had a parent who helped me in this way. And she just was so interested in learning more, and was really empowered to go and to use these strategies with her two children. I also remember another gentleman on the second round of the focus groups who had kind of integrated and started to use some of the strategies in his reading with his daughter. And he made the comment and he said, I think that it's really improved the relationship that I have with my child. Before I came to the focus groups and learned about the strategies, I deferred to to my wife, to do the reading. And so he was just like, this really empowered me to use the strategies. And I guess one of those unintended consequences, if you will, or rewards, that's probably a better way of saying it, was that he really felt like his relationship with his child was strengthened and improved. And he said that he was going to continue reading with his child as a result of that. So I would say those were things that just kind of stood out and resonated with me because it really showed the value of the strategies and getting them in the hands, right, of families. And then also what a wonderful byproduct, right? To also have a strengthening and an improving of a relationship in the midst of that. So it just really spoke volumes about the importance of this work.
Thank you so much for sharing, Amber. I know we all have stories, right? And so it's just always amazing to hear how this work is really impacting not only literacy, but beyond, right? The unintended rewards. I love that. This webinar series really is about the humanity of the work we do. And I think we've really touched on that, right? The humanity and the importance of humanity in work. And we are also living in this time of AI technology being a huge piece that we are all engaging with in a variety of ways in our work, in our social, in our family life. Katie, can you talk a little bit about the influence of technology in supporting the toolkit and supporting the work, and how it even helped us engage with each other?
Sure. Yeah, I think, when I think about the technology available to us, first, it's overwhelming, right? At a broad sense, there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to consider. But in my view of the technology components is that I'm always thinking about how do we increase access to the work, to the resources, to the learning. And so just at a general sense, this may seem simple on the surface, but the fact that we could hop on a Zoom call, for example, as a team and work through problems, really, in hindsight, the level of work that we accomplished together in such a short amount of time is truly due to this ability to hop on a Zoom call, work out a problem, to join a collaborative Google Doc, for example, and just in real time work through these things, to me kept the work fresh in my mind, really helped us dig deeper and expand the ideas in the toolkit. And then the technology tools that helped us stay organized and scheduled. So huge thanks to Branch Ed for helping us stay organized. I know my colleague Rosemary really helped make sure we connected regularly, and we used the technology at our fingertips to make that happen. So that's kind of the general piece that I'm thinking about. The other component of the other pieces of technology that really helped the toolkit come to life were the ability for us to incorporate multimedia in the toolkit itself. So my colleagues and friends here have talked a bit about, and you've seen examples of the video the videos of strategies in action with real people that helps bring the concepts to life, the visuals and printable resources like the cards that folks use while teaching strategies. I think just all of these multimedia components really came together in that collaborative writing space. And so I think that makes the toolkit richer and more accessible. And it's hard to ignore that the technology tools really helped that all come together and in a timely manner. That's what's been fresh on my mind, is look at what we can do as a larger collaborative group of folks who really want to create something practical and meaningful to be able to move that forward. So yeah, I just think that the timeline and the multimedia and access components really stand out to me for this work.
Thank you so much for lifting that up. I think sometimes we take for granted some of these things. I mean, I'm not going to take for granted my Wi-Fi connection today, but we take for granted some of these things, and actually that is right what allows us to connect, to do some of the greatest work, right, together as a community that lives further apart from each other as well, right? We don't all live next door to each other, even at the same institution or organization, right? So it allows us all to come together and then make these connections. That's what I heard at the beginning of this conversation, like, oh, we knew each other from this, and then we moved to this, right? And so it allows us all to come back together for the work. Rosemary, you spearheaded a lot of this work, and you've been doing this kind of work for a very long time. And so for folks out there wondering, like, where do I start? What do I do? I'm interested, I'm listening, I'm inspired. What's one key takeaway or mindset shift that you're like, I really hope folks walk away thinking about this? Give us your nugget, Rosemary, of wisdom.
I do only one. Yeah,
You
and
can do a couple.
thank you. This is such a wonderful team. And I was looking around the Zoom room, and 7 years ago, I didn't know any of these people. And I was a classroom teacher for a long time and now a university professor. And I see that there's a lot of university people here. So the thing is I didn't ever want to be in a vacuum. I felt the importance of working with community, people who are actually working with students when I wasn't anymore. And I found ways to do that anyway. But one of the key things is that we can be doing our own research and doing our own thing, or working at a preschool or in charge of working with families. And all of that's great, but it's even better when you work together. And it's a little scary when Branch had said, "Hey, Katie and Rosemary, do you want to work together and find community partners all around California and more professors and early literacy people? And then they'll pilot it and then they'll tell you what you're doing wrong. And then you have to fix it. What do you think?" And you have 1 year. Like, okay, because that's how we go, right? And so as we've said, I knew some people and they said, "Oh, sure, let's do this together." Melandra's right on board. We've been working together for years. Other people said, "I'm not going to be doing that anymore, or I don't have a community partner, but I know someone. How about Ani?" And then I came back, I got sent out the emails, and sometimes I get, "Yeehaw." I'm like, "Yeah, one more person," or "No, but how about this person?" And the takeaway is go find those people. It's not that hard. In 2 weeks, we had our group and we were ready to go and we just made it happen. And what a wonderful group of people to work with. I hope we get a chance to all work together again. Everyone worked together. We need to do this and this and this by this time, and everybody did it. Met every couple weeks. And so the key takeaway is just do it. Start those emails, start a phone call and say, "Hey, do you want to work together?" And once in a while you'll get "Oh, I can't do it right now, but I can do it next year," or "Here's someone for you." Or you have to ask, can you recommend someone? Sure, I can recommend someone. That's how it really goes in education, working in early literacy. Everybody wants to work with each other. So that's my takeaway. Just go for it.
Thank you so much for sharing. I love that. The idea, like, everyone knows someone and everyone really does have a spirit of wanting to help, especially in education, right? We all are eager to move the work forward in order to really meet the needs of our PK through 12 students. And so I just love that like, even if you're a little apprehensive, just reach out. An email is harmless, all right? And asking, like, "You want to do this work together?" And the more the merrier in bringing in a variety of ideas and perspectives to make really a strong resource and tool. I just want to thank you all for being here today and sharing this work with us. It was a labor of love. And went through multiple iterations and continued to evolve what we thought would be one toolkit turned into a suite of resources. What we didn't know would be videos and playing cards and just a variety of resources. And so I know probably the question is, where can I get these? They are on our resource portal. I'm going to share my screen now, which has a QR code. So you can access our resource portal, and then there's an access code on there to get you into the resources, which is Literacy 2026 exclamation point. So that'll get you into our resource portal and get you right to the suite of resources there for you. Again, just want to thank our panelists for being here with us today and sharing the work, and for all of our subject matter experts that developed this work. This is not all of them, a group of them, but there was a couple more that weren't able to join us, but we just want to thank everyone for the work you did and sharing us around this work. It really reminds me, today's conversation, that innovation doesn't replace human connection. It strengthens it when it's done with intention, and we're grateful to all of you and everyone who's joined us today for continuing to innovate and do the hard work. We would love to connect with you. So if we're not connected already, you can find us at Branch Alliance on all of our social media platforms. Again, this is linked LinkedIn live streaming, and we would highly recommend you share it with colleagues and friends, so you can do that on LinkedIn. Lastly, we have our next Nuts and Bolts webinar coming up next month, first Wednesday of the month as usual, and it's with Maisha Moses, who's the Executive Director of the Young People's Project. We'll be taking a little shift from early literacy and getting into math, but still with those same concepts and ideas, all with kids at the center of the work, right? And how we're helping our students in order to be able to achieve what they want to achieve. And so please join us and learn from Maisha Moses's work around the power of storytelling in math education. With that, we are just so grateful you're here with us today and would love to hear about your experience. So you will see a poll on your screen if you don't mind responding to that poll to share your experience. It's a quick one. And then we will see you for our next event. Can't wait to see y'all next month for our Nuts and Bolts webinar. Again, thank you to all of our panelists for being here today and for sharing this work. We can't wait to see what's next. I'm sure we will be poking all of you for something coming up in the future. So thank you all so much. Have a great day and stay warm out there for folks that are getting that cold weather. Have a good one. Great to see everyone.